Hello everyone, my name is Manish Pansal. I'll be your presenter today. First of all, I wanted to thank you all for joining us here. Topic for our discussion today is financial reporting and dashboards, and also to see how do you access your reports as well as dashboards in BI360, but also to see how easy it is to create these reports and dashboards in BI360. What we'll do as part of our discussion today is we'll begin with a brief overview of the company behind BI360 and also take a look at what BI360 solution consists of and what all components and capabilities it enables, followed by going into the application demo itself. That being said, let me start with a very quick background on Solver, the company behind BI360. Solver has been growing very nicely with double-digit growth. Looks like there has been some error here as we uploaded this into live meeting. But you see experiencing very nice growth here, especially since the launch of BI360, which was launched about 4.5 years ago. And so as of now, as I speak, as of last week, we had crossed 825 customers. So very nice growth in terms of the customers using BI360. We did a survey last year asking our existing customers as to why they selected BI360, and the number one reason that came back to us was its ease of use, followed by what customers are telling us is BI360 is a complete BI suite, meaning it's not just reporting, it's not just dashboard, but also budgeting, planning, data warehouse, as well as collaboration suite. So especially they don't have to go and shop for different products as their needs within the organization grow. The third reason they mentioned to us is its strong integration to ERP as well as to the data warehouse. And we'll see that as we go into the application demonstration in terms of the integration that brings to the table. We're a recipient of many recent awards. The most notable one that I would like to highlight is the Gartner's Magic Quadrant. Solver BI360 was recognized by Gartner, and it is now in Gartner's CPM, Corporate Performance Management, Magic Quadrant as of March 2014 as a new entrant. And you will see that on the Gartner's Magic Quadrant, that's a huge honor, huge achievement for the Solver BI360 team, and I'm sure you would recognize that name as well. Moving on, talking about BI360 suite per se, here are the 5 core modules of BI360: reporting, planning, dashboards, collaboration, and the data warehouse. Our focus in today's discussion would be primarily around reporting and dashboards. And I know that we've scheduled this as a webinar series, so if you're interested in the other topics like planning, collaboration, the data warehouse, there are more webinars taking place in the next several weeks. So please contact your IGUS contact and they will be happy to direct you to the right webinar. Talking about BI360 solution per se, here's how BI360 modules come together. On the left, you would see this is the reporting module. The dotted link that you see going down into the ERP, that's the live integration for live reporting on your ERP. I understand many of you are attending today are from Dynamics GP base, so most of you are using Dynamics GP, but just know that BI360 is integrated to all Dynamics ERP as well as Dynamics CRM. If some of you may be using Dynamics CRM as well, that is live integration to CRM also for reporting, as well as the replica of that integration you see going into dashboards. So whether you want to extract that data and provide that in a report format or in a dashboard format, both are available. The other option to provide reports is to provide reports on top of the data warehouse, meaning now you can combine the data from your Dynamics ERP along with the other data sources within your organization, could be payroll data, could be other line of business systems, combine that data and provide reports on combined data, call it 360-degree view of the organization. Similarly, you can provide dashboards on any of that data across the enterprise, not only the Dynamics data. Planning module enables budgeting, forecasting, as well as modeling capabilities. And what it does is provides users the ability to enter their budgets. Number one, I should say, the budget manager rolls out the budget templates, and so on and so forth, distributes, which do not go through the typical email distribution and all of that, but rather through the interface in BI360. And this is Excel-based, so both reporting and planning are Excel-based, and you can log in through your regular Active Directory security and all of that, and just it's authenticated, so it's security enabled and all of that. Budget users will come in, enter their budget, everything goes back and saves to the budget database. So that's where budgeting and planning takes place, whether you're looking at a budget scenario, a forecast scenario, or anything related to your what-if scenario analysis. All of that is enabled by the planning module. Also, to talk about collaboration, this brings collaboration capabilities within BI360 environment across your enterprise, though, not only specific to just BI360. What that means is, think of this as social media applied to business intelligence, wherein you would be able to discuss your reports, your budgets, your dashboard KPIs, discuss variance analysis and all of that. But in addition, there are many other features that we will be talking more in another webinar. For today's purposes, we'll zoom into reporting and dashboards and more details around that. We'll begin with reporting and dashboards, and there are a few different ways you can access these reports and dashboards. As I mentioned, it is Excel-based, but also you can access them through the web. And what you're seeing here on my screen right now is the web-based reporting and dashboard portal. On the left, you would see I can have managed my reports and dashboards in a specific fashion. I can group them into specific report folders or report or dashboard folders. I can flip through my reports or dashboards. I can toggle them as my favorites, which would then appear here as my favorite reports or dashboards. And here I can run my report. And for example, let's say I'm interested in my P&L report. I'm calling this as my modern P&L report just from a formatting perspective. Then a few things here that are more interesting to us, more from a visual perspective. As you would see, I can bring my top KPIs in a little bit bigger font, plot my chart pages relative to those KPIs that are important, and of course my standard P&L is still right there. So that's one of the ways you can design your reports in BI360 and access these reports through the web. When I say design the reports, that is always happening in Excel, and we'll go over there shortly, but I wanted to first show you how would you access these reports through the web and so on. So here's one report. Now, the question typically I get at this point is, this is great that you're looking at a report. Can you actually drill down to details? The answer is yes. Not only can you look at all these numbers, but you can also, let's say, analyze this further. I'm interested in product revenues. Right-click and drill down to details. This is what is taking straight to your ERP or to the source system that you've developed this or configured this report on. So now you see I'm looking at the salaries and by department, etc. I can look at all those details. And this particular report is configured on top of the data warehouse. So we will talk about that also in a moment, but that also means that I'm not limited to getting data only from your ERP. Within this report, I can bring in the data from any other source system. From a data content perspective and different period functions perspective, you can see that I can bring in any period function in terms of actuals for this month, month last year, compare them, variance as well as budget for the month, and similarly YTD. Current year, last year, or any of those functions. We will see many of these functions as we go into developing or configuring the report ourselves. That being said, I have a few other options about this report. Let's say if I want to share, I can click here and I can send over this link to any of my colleagues via email or share it in the portal itself or send as an email. I can download this report as well if I would like to download as an Excel and take it back with me in an offline mode, for example. That's another download option. But also, on the top, you would see there are different parameters you can select. I can choose between different entities and whatever the selection criteria my designer would have given me for this report. As an end user, I can choose between different budgets, different scenarios, could be actual budget or forecast, etc. On the left, you would see these are the different times when I ran this report. So it is not only showing me the report when I ran it right now, but it is also showing me when was the last time I ran it, and I can toggle between those numbers. So that is all cached within the portal itself. That was one report example. Going back, I can click on library, which will take me back to my overall report library. I can click back on my favorites. So I'm looking at the reports that I'm more interested in. Here's another example of a consolidation report for some of you who may be more interested into financial consolidations, multiple companies, multiple currencies, roll-ups, etc. This may be one of the reports that may be interesting to you. For example, here I've selected multiple entities. What if here you see I have 3 entities, Canada, EMEA, as well as US, consolidating, and so on and so forth. What if I just want to do Asia, or let's say EMEA and US? I can select that and refresh to now see the refresh report. Again, I didn't change any filters in terms of period and all, but that's also available. And now you see I have 2 entities and the consolidation across those 2 entities. If I had eliminations and all of those rules going, that would show up here too. And as I scroll down into the report, you would see I can group my report in and expenses by department, for example, or it could be the other way around. Here I'm grouping it at the high level by department and accounts down. It could be the other way around, that account is the main and you have departmental expenses broken out underneath. So there are many different ways to configure the report and to look at the report depending on what the end users, your business users, would like to see it as. Back into the portal, I can click on a dashboard, for example. Here, this one is a sales by product, and I can click on a dashboard, look at the dashboard itself, wherein you see key products, the total sales by product, what's my sales trend, who are the customers buying the product, and the key products sold to each of those customers. Now, if I'm interested in linking or drill down, in this case, you can see that this will drill down to my salesperson, and now I'm looking at the salesperson related numbers, the sales trend. And if I'm specifically interested in Paul, for example, I can click on him and look at his numbers per se. Similarly, on the right, you would see I can look at customer details. Depending on how you want to set up the dashboard, this could all be linked dashboard, and I can click on any specific customer and see which products they bought, and so on and so forth. So what we're seeing here in the dashboards is it's pretty interactive. It's very user-friendly, and also as we move forward, we'll see how easy it is to set up the dashboards as well as the reports. What I'd like to do next is would like to switch gears, go into showing you a couple more reports, more from the Excel interface perspective, and also talk about how do you create reports per se. When I go and talk about reports, I also will be showing you how do you do ad hoc reporting, how do you publish the reports, and so on and so forth. So let's go into my report folder. As you would see, here I'm into my BI360 demo folder. I'm into my desktop, looking into my GP demo folder. Since many of you are from Dynamics GP, users of Dynamics GP, I'm focusing a little bit more on Dynamics GP in this webinar today, but just know that this will work across multiple ERPs as well as the data warehouse. So here you would see I have different reports, whether it be you're looking at a 401k report, AP report, AR report, balance sheet, cash flow, HR related reports, and so on and so forth. That's all relative to what may be interesting to the user audience. One of the things I wanted to highlight here as we go through these details is BI360, when I say it's integrated to Dynamics GP, it is integrated not only to the GL module. So many of you might be using FRX or Management Reporter. One of the key distinctions to keep in mind between FRX Management Reporter versus BI360, if you're looking at it only from a financial reporting standpoint, is that it is integrated not only to the GL module in Dynamics GP or other Dynamics ERPs, but also to all the sub-ledgers within your Dynamics GP or other Dynamics ERP. As you saw me opening up one of the report templates from my report folder, I can as an end user, I can access any of these reports. Given I have the permission to access those reports, I can pick any department or period as has been given the access by the designer. Let's say I don't want to roll up for service, for example, and I want to run it for period 2. At this point, it is running the report live and accessing the data from the database, in this case Dynamics GP, and it's made available to me in my report right there. At the runtime, it refreshed not only my data, but the charts and all of my conditional formatting that you see here, which is all standard Excel formatting. As we look at this report, you would see going from left to right, we brought in the account, the description. Since we ran for period 2, it's February YTD numbers. That could have been my simplest variation or simplest report, P&L report. A variation that I created is to bring in budget and variance. Yet another variation could be to bring in more visual charts. And let's say the budget manager comes in and says, well, can you extend this report to bring the entire year's budget information and what's remaining, what's percentage remaining, so I can track it at the account level, for example. All very easy to do. Going down the report, you can see that we can group it in certain fashion and so on and so forth. So you would see this is revenues, cost of goods sold, employee expenses, operating expenses, etc. Again, the question you may have is, just like how we drill down on the web, can you drill down here as well? The answer is yes. And since we are in Excel, we can do a little bit more than just drilling down. For example, if I'm interested in drilling on the retail sales, I can drill down to actual details, and I'm expecting this to bring up all my details in another worksheet tab. So now if you look at the bottom of my sheet here, sheet 2, that is where you would see I have actual details right there. And as I scroll to the right, you would see my vendors, vendor name, all of those details coming straight from the ERP. Not only that, but what if I'm interested in finding out what is my sales by customer, and if I'm interested in a specific customer, I can actually pivot on that number, and the same set of columns that we saw in a tabular format earlier is available to me in a pivot table format. And I can just say, well, show me the customers, which is, in this case, that's my master name, and the amount. And with those 2 clicks, I have my customers, the revenue contribution by each customer. So I'm interested in, let's say, in SNS properties. I know what revenue they contributed here. And here's my total, 1.02 mil, which is where we came from. I can go back here. Not only can I drill down on actuals, I can also drill down on budgets. And at the bottom now you will see that I have drilled down to budget. So if you're able to see the worksheets at the bottom, budget transactions, here's actual details, and here's my actual report. That was one of the ways you could access this report, or I should say the second way. One was through the web. The second, now we're looking at through Excel. Just also note that we can access through the mobile apps as well on the iPhone and iPad as of now, and you will be able to do the same type of drill down, access the same report, etc. on your mobile devices or tablets as well. So now let's go ahead and take a look at a little bit under the hood what exactly is there as to designing this report, and then we'll go ahead and look at one more report example and then build the report ourselves. Switching back to the design mode, now see how the report looks. The report definition looks, I would say. Revenues is one row, and here's where I define what all range of accounts I want and if I want them to be expanding or not. And so on the left, this is where I wanted to point out that you are now looking at the integration of BI360 into all modules of your ERP, in this case Dynamics GP, which is what I'm connected to. Right now I've just clicked on finance, so you're seeing the deep integration into the finance module, but similarly you'll also be able to access purchasing, sales order, inventory, payroll, manufacturing, and other modules within Dynamics GP or other ERP, for example. Let's go ahead and look at one more report, which is a subledger report. So just you've had a chance to look at a subledger report in addition to a financial statement. Let's take a look at maybe an AR aging report. And here you will see my report definition is very simple to the point that it is just a few rows that designer has used to design this report. And as an end user, I have access to choosing different statuses, choosing specific customers or not certain customers and so on, and just run the report. Again, refreshing the data live at the runtime. And you will see that I have the aging report across all customers. And you'll see that, you'll notice that it is flashing some red, some cells to be read, some data to be read, because we have used conditional formatting to say, if the amounts are greater than 50,000, then show that to me in red. And that's all standard Excel formatting. Whatever we're seeing in terms of formatting is all standard Excel formatting. So from a learning curve perspective, that's very easy. On the left, you would see again standard Excel functionality, which is the plus sign grouping function in Excel that you have. We can use that in the reporting as well, and now bring in more details behind specific customers, relative to specific customers, which also you can further drill down to details. And this is what will take you to AR tables within your Dynamics ERP in this particular case. Not only can we look at certain transaction details, but let's say you want to look at more details for each of these documents, I can expand on that and look at the document date, the due date, and the status of those documents as well. So many different ways to configure this report. What would benefit now is to go ahead and actually create a report so you could see how the process goes about to create a report that you can access through the Excel interface that we are just looking at now, or through the web interface that we saw a few moments ago. If I can, an existing BI360 report template, so as a new customer, if you're deploying BI360, you could take all the existing templates that you saw on my desktop here. These are all standard reporting templates available, and there are more than 100 templates available across different ERPs and the data warehouse and so on. If you like any of those, you can start as a baseline using new current option. For now, let's go ahead and build a new blank report, start from scratch. So I'll click on new blank. It is now asking me what data source do you want to connect to. I could connect to my data warehouse if I am looking to build a report on top of the data warehouse, which would include data from other data sources also. For now, I'll just connect to Dynamics GP and select the instance of GP I want to connect to. And now it's loading my integration to Dynamics GP. For our current purposes, what I'd like to do is build a simple trial balance report. So you'll see that I'll be using my Excel skills coupled with my BI360 knowledge. So far, I've just given it a report header. I'm giving the column header now, and let's say I'd like column B to be account number, C to be description, which could be a little bit wider, and further on. And let's say using Excel features, I can format this a little bit. And let's say I'm going to use some of those rows and columns. On the left, I wanted to highlight this is the integration to Dynamics GP in this case, and to all the modules, but also any smart list that you may have built on top of GP, you could actually access those through BI360 as well. Going into my finance module, into actual summary, account string, and here's where you would see we have taken your account string and broken that down into each segment into different segments, or different segments into different dimensions here. And that's what is easy to pick and drag and drop, bring here. It's asking me, do you want to create a selection group on the row or on the column? I would say on the row. As soon as I do that, see in row 8, it has dropped my filter, and now I can go ahead and pick any specific accounts I want to show, or not certain ones, or just leave it blank for now. I'll leave it as expanding, so that will expand when I run the report. Drag and drop account description. And now let's say I want to bring in my period balance here. So it knows for each account to bring in period balance, but it does not know yet as to what periods should I bring that data for. And you see at the bottom, I'm clicking now on functions. In BI360, we have created all these functions out of the box. So as a designer, I do not have to sit here and write any of these functions. I can just drag and drop year to date, for example, and there are many functions as you would see, Q1, Q2, comparison, this quarter, last quarter, 3 months rolling, etc. Let's do a quick test and see how are we doing in terms of our report. I can run a quick report. I think my demo data is in 2014. Looks like we are headed in the right direction. And now I can take this report and format it a little bit better. Looks like we're getting some square footage accounts as well because I didn't select any filter for the accounts. These are statistical accounts that don't belong to my trial balance, so I can remove that. And those are all 9,000 series, so I can just flag that, show me the accounts less than 9,000. If I want to compare it with last year to date and also have a variance column, or if I want to have more conditional formatting, more traffic lights as we saw in the other reports, very easy to do. And let's see how easy. Go back to the design mode. Let's say columns E and F is what I use for that purpose. Drag and drop. Bring in last year to date. So you saw how I could use my Excel skills, and that's the only formula that you'll see me typing in this entire report. The rest everything is drag and drop or right click, and I can just right click and say create a sum. Again, take it forward. I know many of you folks in finance love those double underlines, so I will do that, and a little bit of colors, formatting, and all that. What if you want to do dollar masking here, reduce decimals? I want account to be left aligned. So you see how easy it is to use all of the Excel features that we've always all come to learn to use and over time. At this point, let's say if I want my year-to-date to be in a color scale or maybe a data bar, for example, and here's where many of you may already know this, but you can create your thresholds and rules right here. So when should they appear red, green, yellow, etc. And what if I want to select one as my traffic light? So let's do that and go ahead. And before I run, actually, let's just bring our layout editor so we can tell it to not show the accounts greater than 9,000, so or less than 9,000, and now go back and run the report. So now you see I have a formatted trial balance report starting to come together, and I don't have those statistical accounts. I also, you didn't see me designing any drill downs, but if I right click here and drill down to details, you'll see it will open up another tab on the right, and that's my actual details right there. That's very easy to do. What if I want to take this trial balance report and convert it into departmental trial balance report? How easy or difficult that would be to do? Very simple. Go back to the design tab. I'm going to select a sheet filter, bring in department as my sheet filter, make it a parameter, and while I'm creating department as a parameter, I can choose what type of drop down I would like it to be, so I'll leave that as simple. This is the magical button, checkbox, that I call as. I want to create one sheet per department I select. So this could be your vendors, this could be your customers, and so on. And once I do that, now see what happens here. If I select these 6 departments, rerun the report, I'm expecting 6 worksheet tabs at the bottom of my report to do specifically split my report per department. So you see now at the bottom, I have admin, accounting, sales, service, and so on. Very easy to do, and I still haven't lost my drill down to any of those reports or department numbers. So that was one of the examples of how would you create reports in BI360. Now let's go ahead and take a look at a couple of other reporting functions before we move into dashboards. What we just saw is the Excel interface, which you would typically use to provide more formatted reports, and one of the examples we just saw. The other question I typically get many times is, what if I want to do a quick query, quick ad hoc report? There's another interface we could use for ad hoc reporting purposes and more suited for those power users who would like to get answers to certain questions right away. And this is what you're seeing on the screen is the ad hoc reporting interface. From the left, in the left menu, you would see the exact same integration that we saw from the Excel interface, but just a different interface on the right, wherein we have white canvas as opposed to Excel grid in the previous interface. So here, let's say if I want to do a quick accounts payable query, I go into purchasing. Since we already looked at finance, I just want to show you a little bit of another module integrated again to Dynamics GP here, or could be another ERP as well. Let's say I want to go into payables transactions, want to bring in vendor. So you just drag and drop, and here I want to bring in the vendor name, the document date. I want to look at my accounts payable, maybe what's the due date. I can bring in my document number also if I want. Or let's go ahead and just bring in my document amount. At this point, I'm ready to refresh my query. So you see this goes a little bit faster as compared to designing a formatted report in Excel. But before I do that, let's say I want to, instead of running for the report for all vendors, I'll just create vendor as a filter. And I click on that to select certain vendors, but not these, for example, and refresh my query. So all I have to do is quickly bring all that data or those data points into my ad hoc interface and run my report. What if I want to now group it by vendor name? And what if I want to now see the totals by each vendor? So you would see that now I'm able to look at totals by vendor and so on. I can collapse them. I can look at it by vendor and so on. What if I want to bring in posting period also? And what if I want to bring in posting period just to see only 2014? I can do that too very easily. So all of that is just drag and drop and refresh. I can also right click on posting periods to say show me the totals per posting period. Now it looks like there might not be much data in each posting period, but if it was data in all 12 periods, you would have a tabular report across 12 periods, and you can export this to Excel, share it with anyone in the library. So on the top, you would see I can save it as a report query. So if I don't want to build this query every time, I can just save it as a query, and that would appear as a report query here. As you would see on the left, these are several report queries that I have here. Or I can export to Excel, export to PDF, or if I want to convert this into a formatted report that is available in Excel, I can export to the report designer also. So many different options available, and that also shows there is tight integration between all different interfaces that you're seeing here, whether it be reporting in Excel, into the ad hoc, or the web portal. I can export this to Excel, upload it to the web as well, depending on how you would like your users to use. The last piece related to reporting I wanted to mention here is the publishing capability of the reporting module. And here you would see I can create a new subscription, manage existing subscriptions, etc., and manage my subscribers. Let's look at one of the subscriptions I have created here for management reports. I can have a cash flow, balance sheet, income statement, and so on. Define the connection. More importantly, I can now define my distribution target. What format do I want the report to go out in? What should be the output? Should it be via email, to a folder, to a report library? And who are the subscribers that should be going out to? I want to take those three reports. Let's say instead of sending them as separate workbooks, I want to merge them into one workbook so the user does not have to open three different attachments. Goes via email to another subscriber list, or as a merged PDF. So you will see that XML, HTML, different formats available. It can go out to a folder or to a library. It could be a SharePoint library too, etc. Now, this is where you can then define the date and time when you want to schedule. You can have define advanced options if you want it to run specific times of every month or or in a specific pattern or a schedule, or you can run it on demand as well. So that capability, the publisher module, what that enables is report generation, scheduling, and distribution based on user roles and responsibility. We haven't talked much about the user security and all, but the first level, as I mentioned earlier, is Active Directories authentication, and the second would be at the application, BI360 application level, wherein users would be able to access only those specific module, accounts, or dimensions that they're authorized to access. So if they're not supposed to be looking at certain payroll information, for example, you can certainly block that out, which is not dependent so much on your GP security or your ERP security, and it is all centrally managed within BI360. Okay? Lastly, I want to move back to the dashboards, and we already looked at how do we access these dashboards, and we saw an example here. What if let's take a look at how does the process go about if you were to create a dashboard. Since I'm an admin user, I would be able to create a dashboard, and you would see this plus sign here, create new dashboard. I can click on that, and I can now connect to ERP. In this case, now let's go ahead and connect with another ERP, just so you have a chance to see a little bit of a different flavor as well. I'm now connected to an ERP here, Dynamics ERP in this case. On the left, you would see I have different widgets available. I can choose a header. I can choose different styles of my dashboard or dashlets that I want. So we call each of those different charts as dashlets in BI360. Let's go ahead and select a header, and I'm going to call this as my sales overview dashboard. I can make that as my overall header for the dashboard. Now let's go ahead and bring since we are making a sales overview dashboard, I would like to bring in my sales actual versus budget information. And I'd like to use, let's say, a column chart to do that. So I drag and drop my column chart here. Soon, if you notice, on the left, it shows me what data points I have available to select from. So these are the same integration that we saw from the Excel interface or from the ad hoc interface. Exact same set of fields, same set of folders available. So nothing new to learn per se, but just another interface. In this case, more visual and graphical that serves the dashboard purposes. So let's go ahead and go into our ledger accounts. In the dashlet, it is asking me to define the properties and the filters. So similar to how we define in Excel, we were dragging and dropping into that layout editor or into the Excel interface. Very similar experience, just a different interface. In this case, I want my ledger accounts to be a filter. I want my revenue accounts to show up. So let's quickly see. I think it's 4,000 series or 400,000 series, which is my sales right there. So I'll select my revenue accounts. I will select a measure as to the amount. So I'll just go ahead and select amount MST. That's my measure. You see that's where I'm dropping my measure for my revenue accounts. I'll also go ahead and select category, which is my period filter, and also to define what year I want it for. I will make it a global header on the dashboard. So now I can select a year, but I'll also pass on that filter to my dashlet so it knows each dashlet will refresh based on the year that I select here, or in the dashboard I would say. For now, let's go ahead and quickly test it. I'll go ahead and select, let's say, 2007. It looks like we're headed in the right direction. For 2007, I can resize this. Let's say I now get 2007, all 12 periods, and you would see it showing negative because in ERP, those are stored in the reverse order as negative. So I can reverse that by applying a -1 factor, and that's now we have a dashlet. So we have sales. Let's call this dashlet as sales or revenues actual versus budget. Of course, so far we've just brought in actual, but let's go ahead and bring in budget as well. How do I do that? All I got to do is bring in, you see there is another folder called ledger budget. I can bring in my budget information exactly for the same accounts, but now I got to bring just another measure called budget amount. Drag and drop, flip the sign again, and I can also define drill down. You would notice here I can define drill down levels. For now, I'll keep it simple and just leave it there and refresh. And now we have a sales actual versus budget dashlet available. I can save this dashlet right there. So you see on the top right, I can save this dashlet. Let's click on that. And now at the bottom it says dashlet stored. What that means is if I go back here into my dashlet, my sales revenue actual versus budget is a dashlet that is now available. Earlier, for our purposes for today, I already created a few other dashlets. Now, for example, top 10 products by customer. If anyone else within the organization have created these dashlets, you can share them across. And let's say I want to bring in top 10 customers. Let's say I want to bring in sales expenses as well. And I want to resize them a little bit. It's just all right. So now if I refresh, now I have a fully formatted dashboard working for me. The process that we just did for creating this dashlet is no different than what it was taken to create these other dashlets. And once you have created dashlets like this, you'll have a library of dashlets available. So you can create as many dashboards as you'd like for different types of users for specifically their needs and so on. And now I can save this entire dashboard, for example, as let's say, I'll just say our test dashboard, call it IBIS dashboard for today. Now I have that dashboard available that I can pick and choose and would be available when I go to my library, for example. And this is where I should be able to access my dashboard as well. Let's just quickly see right there. So similar to this, again, many different ways you can upload reports. You can manage different user roles and everything right here into the dashboard portal. At this point, I'd like to switch back to the PowerPoint and just point you to what we have PowerPoint. So this is where we left to jump into the application demo. What we've seen today is a little bit more detail around reporting. There is, believe me, there is a lot more that we can spend another half a day looking into reporting functionality. But what we've seen is a brief overview of a few report examples, how to create a report in for a formatted report perspective, financial statement as an example, or an AR statement, etc. Or we've also additionally looked at ad hoc reports or publishing capability of BI360. We've looked at the portal where we can create dashboards, but also where we can have these reports available through the web-based access as well. And just know that all of this is available through the mobile interface as well. Or I should say the reports are available through the Apple apps as of now, and soon on the other apps, and followed by the dashboards will be available on those as well. With that, I want to wrap up today's session and open it for Q&A. All right. One of the questions I'm receiving here is around the ability to bring in other data sources. What could those data sources be? And the answer is the data sources, as you would see in this picture here. These other data sources could be any database, any data system that is ODBC compliant. So from a technical perspective, any database that can connect or integrate with SQL, we can bring that data into the BI360 data warehouse. We can also not only bring in data from systems, but also if you have certain data that is sitting in different spreadsheets or files or feeds that are coming in, especially from a cloud-based system. Many of the customers have ADP or other hosted payroll systems. Those could be brought in as Excel imports and in a semi-automated fashion too. So there is, as such, we haven't come across any limitation around the data sources per se. And towards the end, and that's what this is one of the slide deck that you would see would be made available to you. Here are different options to access reports or the dashboards. And also wanted to point out that there is our annual user group conference taking place in September. So if anyone of you might be in the area or interested in attending, we'd love to host you. Many different resources available for you, or feel free to contact your immediate contact at iBiz, and we'll be happy to assist you if you'd like to arrange for a deeper dive demo.